All right, we back. Now today's gonna be a quick video, just sharing my thoughts. I was just sitting back thinking earlier today, and then it just hit me. Yeah, the AES is currently under siege, right? The AES is currently being surrounded, right? And we're gonna talk about that in today's video. So now, earlier this week, I dropped a video talking about how there was a failed attack on the government of Ibrahim Traore. They tried to overthrow the government, and it was a level 4 travel advisory put out against the country. And I spoke about how the security minister, the minister of security in Burkina Faso, came out and said that the individuals who are behind the attack, they've been taking refuge in Ivory Coast, right? Under the nose of the government in Ivory Coast, under the nose of the law enforcement in Ivory Coast. And of course, we spoke about the recent comments that were made by American General Michael Langley when he was testifying to Chairman Wicker at the U.S. Armed Services Committee, where he actually accused Ibrahim Traore of engaging in corruption, right? Alleging that he's taken the natural resources, he's taken the gold in order to protect his regime. And then, of course, we saw General Michael Langley travel to Ivory Coast a few days after the failed overthrow attempt against the government of Ibrahim Traore. And then we spoke about the connection between the government of Ivory Coast and the United States. But it actually hit me, right? General Michael Langley has actually been putting in a lot of work as of recently, right? On the low key, under the cover of darkness, we haven't been paying attention, but General Michael Langley has actually been building a wall around the AES, and I'm gonna explain to you what I mean in today's video. Now, of course, ever since the 3 regimes in the Sahel came to power, there's been a big geopolitical shakeup in the region. First, it started with one country. First, it was Mali. Then it was Burkina Faso. Then it was Niger, right? It started with one country. Then it became a whole block. Now, at first, the United States wasn't really worried when it came to Mali. It was really France that was stressed out. It was France that was panicking, right? And then when Burkina Faso, when the regime change happened in that country, the United States was watching, but they wasn't really worried. They wasn't really stressing, but France, meanwhile, France was panicking. France was scrambling. Then when Niger fell, that is when the United States, started hitting the panic button, because as you know, they had a $100 million drone base established in Niger. Unfortunately, they lost that drone base. They got kicked out the country. And that was when I believe that the United States became on high alert as they see that multiple regimes in the area began to fall. Now, in today's video, I'm going to show you how the United States has actually been making certain defensive moves to maintain their influence in the region. I'm going to show you how since late 2023, General Michael Langley has been making the rounds to all the nations that share a border with the AES, and he's been strengthening bilateral relations. He's been strengthening cooperation, right? In the last year and a half, General Michael Langley has taken trips to meet with the leadership in Benin, the leadership in Mauritania, the leadership in Algeria, the leadership in Togo, the leadership in Chad, and of course, Ivory Coast, right? All the nations that share a border with the AES, General Michael Langley has been making the rounds. Now, when it comes to African foreign policy, the United States and France have always worked hand in hand. It's always been that way, right? The United States and France have always coordinated, have always supported each other's operations, each other's agendas. They've always backed each other's foreign policy. United States and France, they partners in crime, right? So when France is robbing the bank, the United States is the lookout. He's the getaway driver, right? They partners in crime. They maintain a united front. So now, as you can see, over the past few years, France has suffered major setbacks and major losses in the region. They've been driven out the region. Their military has been kicked out the region. And France has always been seen as kind of like a local enforcer for Western interests in the region. So when France is being driven out the region, that by extension has an effect on United States foreign policy and U.S. influence in the region as well. So now we see the United States taking a more direct hands-on role because France obviously can't do the job, right? Now, let's take a look at what I'm talking about. Take a look up on the screen. Back in May 2024, AFRICOM Commander General Michael Langley visits Benin to strengthen bilateral security partnerships. Now, Benin shares a direct border, I believe, with Burkina Faso and Niger, right? So they share a border with 2 out of 3 of the AES states, right on their southern borders. And by strengthening their relations with Benin, they ensure that the government in Benin remains stable and remains open and remains friendly and doesn't end up falling and flipping like the other 3 states. So essentially, by employing this tactic, they're trying to make sure that the AES remains contained in the region. It doesn't spill out or spill over into more government. So 4 or 5 states don't end up falling, right? Because at first, like I said, it was only Mali. Then they grew to Mali and Burkina Faso. Then it grew to Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. So they're trying to stop it from becoming Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and maybe Benin. Now, let's continue. Take a look up on the screen. AFRICOM Commander General Michael Langley, and senior enlisted leader traveled to Mauritania. That was back on October 2023. Now, keep in mind, the AES has been in effect since July 2023. Now, when it comes to Mauritania, I believe they share a border with Mali. So as you can see, the United States strengthening relations on the southern border of the AES, as well as the western border of the AES. Now, when you have a friendly government surrounding the entire regime, surrounding the entire confederation, you don't have to have troops in the region, to be honest. You could simply fly drones from your nearby military bases from the border and simply keep an eye on everything. And also, in the worst case scenario, since you're already there, since you already have relationships and agreements with the governments in the region, you could simply deploy your troops right surrounding them along their borders. In a worst case scenario where you had to actually deploy physical troops. But I'm just giving you the reason why this tactic is effective and something that the governments in the AES should just be aware about, right? I'm making this video just so, just to raise awareness, basically. Because it's like this. Imagine you got a house, right? And somebody is watching you from across the street. He's not doing nothing, right? He's just across the street. He just looking at you. He just across the street. He's just sitting in his car across the street, right? Sometimes he drives away. He comes back. He drives back around the block. He just watching you. He keeping a surveillance on you. That's basically what the United States is doing with the AES, right? They simply got lookouts just across the street. Now, he can't come inside your house because you kicked him out of the house, right? He used to be able to come inside the house, but you kicked him out of the house. So now what he does, he just parks his car across the street and just sits back and watches who's coming in and out of the house, who's coming to visit the house, right? Let me make sure China ain't coming to visit the house, right? Let me make sure Russia ain't coming by the house, right? That's basically what they're doing. They just sitting back and watching. Now let's continue. Take a look up on the screen. AFRICOM commander signs memorandum of understanding with the Algerian Ministry of National Defense. Now, that was back a few months ago, actually, January 2025. General Michael Langley, they signed a memorandum of understanding with the Algerian military, right? And as you know, there's been some hostilities recently between Mali and Algeria. I covered that on my channel also. But anyways, Algeria shares a border with both Mali and Niger, I believe on their northern borders, right? So as you can see, General Michael Langley has been strengthening relations with the neighbors on the southern border, the neighbors on the western border, and the neighbors on the northern border. And who knows, maybe that's why Algeria recently has been so belligerent against the government in Mali. Who knows? But anyways, let's continue. Now, as you already know, like I covered most recently, General Michael Langley was actually in Ivory Coast just a couple days ago, just a few days after the recent failed overthrow attempt on the government of Ibrahim Traore. Just a few weeks after he testified in front of Chairman Wicker accusing Ibrahim Traore of corruption, he met up with the Minister of Defense in Ivory Coast, who is also the head of the National Intelligence Department in Ivory Coast, and who is also the younger brother of the president of Ivory Coast, Alassane Ouattara, who coincidentally just yesterday made a trip to France just yesterday. Right. So it's crazy, brother. But yeah. So General Michael Langley over the past, year and a half, he's been doing his job to the highest level. Right. He's making sure that he has a ring of surveillance surrounding the AES, making sure that, Western influence remains in the region. Right. Making sure the neighbors of the AES, don't also fall out of favor with the Western nations, with the Western governments, right? So General Michael Langley, he's been working overtime, right? He's been definitely earning his money. He's definitely been earning his money. And this is the reality of geopolitics, man. And when it comes to the nations that I've just named, we already know at least two of those nations serve as rear bases of destabilization against the AES, right? The first one being the regime in Algeria, the second one being the regime in Ivory Coast. And both of those nations have military agreements, security cooperation agreements with the United States. But yeah, man, that's the reality. That's the reality of geopolitics. When they cannot control you directly, they don't walk away. They don't go away. No, they go to your neighbors, right? They sit across the street and they watch you from across the street, and they sit back and they watch, and they sit back and they wait, and they try to catch you slipping, right? They try to catch you off guard, right? Maybe try to sneak into your house while you sleeping at night. That's the reality, man. But at the end of the day, man, General Michael Langley, he's just doing his job. Whether we like it or not, that man is doing his job. And they would not put him in the seat of power. They would not give him that position if they did not know that he would carry out his job to his highest capability. right? So obviously, as you can see, General Michael Langley working overtime to protect Western interests. You feel me? But yeah, man, that's the reality. That's the reality. Yeah. And of course, I got some more videos. I'm gonna come back. You know, I got some more AES videos I gotta drop. I heard Niger just cashed out like 20 million on some brand new drones, right? And I saw a few more things in the headline. So yeah, I got a few more AES videos I gotta come with. But anyways, man, it's your boy Never Carter Saline back in the Billy. Yes, indeed. Cash App in the description. Support the album Sahel 1816. Go to my homepage or go to my playlist section. Enjoy the album. And I'm gone. Peace.
Told me she loved me and said that it's real. So independent, ain't signing no deal. Feel like a king and I'm up at Cap Henry. I'm in the citadel, top of the hill. Trying to run up but we let off a cannon. Secret location, I'm keeping it sealed. You ain't retaliate, Franco Medina. Came to the country and he got killed. You ain't retaliate, Rafi and Mans. Thought you was loyal, thought you was real. Didn't even want to come pick up the body. Had your man locked up, he died in the cell. Up at the palace, I'm throwing a party. Right on the south and I'm giving them hell. And my little shorty, she looking exotic. African features, she casting a spell. Run to the check like I work on my fitness. Wake up each morning and handle my business. Say that she love me, she want my genetics. Wanna get married and make it official. Gonna get married and have my babies. Up in the city, I'm riding Mercedes. Up in the city, they treat me like royalty. Feeling like Dolph, talking about lords. Spreading my wings and I had to get fly. Up in the top, an incredible vibe. Came from the bottom, I'm up in the sky. Gave one look and said, baby, you fine. Wake up each morning and handle my business. They just be talking, you see me, I live it. Ride on my enemies, sounding like thunder. 1804 got that shit in my spirit. 1804 when I step in the building. 1804 and that's word of my mother. Rock my women and die for my brother. Never gon' fall when I'm deep under pressure. Tell them we back and they better accept it. Move like a king, every step is divine. Ride on my enemies with no exception. Taking revenge and I'm taking what's mine. Pour up a drink and it's time that we toast. Watching my back, keep my enemies close. Only the family, I stick with my brothers. Cannon's position outside of the coast. Heavy artillery for the protection. Move like a general, stick to the code. Feel like a king when I'm up in the north. Beautiful women, they trying to get chose. Launch an invasion all over the south. Capture the capital with all my woes. Look at my energy and my demeanor. Dripping that ice and that's head to my toes. Lately I'm flexing all on the Americans. Flexing my muscle on missing my road. Just got a carriage just coming from London. Boy, that shit cash, I ain't taking no loans. Boy, that shit cash, that's fresh on the boat. Enemy know I got millions in gold. Enemy know I got choppers and cannons. How did I do it? They can't understand it. How did I do it? It's cause I'm relentless. Call me King Harry, my name is cemented. Call me King Harry, I'm up in the palace. Call me King Harry, I'm raising the status.